It In addition to our habitat connectivity program, we also have the water quality program, which I'm sure many of you are very familiar with. Mr. David Sly that leads that program. I'm grateful to have the opportunity to learn from someone like David with all his institutional knowledge and experience. So please be sure to keep an eye out for some of his program events that are upcoming and certainly some of the advocacy engagement opportunities. Also want to thank, in addition to our speaker, both Kylie and Lauren for joining us. Kylie's making sure everything's running smooth tonight in the background. So we appreciate her support. And Lauren's going to help field the questions. And tonight is Lauren's last day with us as an intern. So she's been great, and we've really appreciated her help. And we're glad she gets to spend her last evening with us. Lastly, I just want to mention we're in our winter fundraiser mode, and just want to note that while Virginia can't do this very important work on both the water side and the habitat connectivity side without your support, we get all of our energy from you. That helps us keep pushing and driving for better wildlife habitat connectivity and water quality protections in the state of Virginia. Please consider supporting Wild Virginia any way you can. We appreciate your support, whether that's through donations or just helping advocate. Everyone can help in their own way. And again, we can't do this work without you. So without further ado, it is my pleasure to introduce Mr. Jeff Wright. Jeff is the president of Friends of Dragon Run. This organization independently owns and manages over 1,150 acres along the Dragon Run in counties of Virginia's Middle Peninsula. He's also a kayak paddle tour guide and chairman of the board of the Old Growth Forest Network. This is a national organization dedicated to creating a network of forests with one in each county where forests can grow, open for visitors, and never to be logged. And a network of people inspired to protect them. You can visit www.oldgrowthforest.net to learn more. Jeff is a certified Virginia Master Naturalist in the Golden Circle, having over 7,000 volunteer hours and a past president of the Northern Neck Master Naturalist chapter. He's an initiator, a leader, and a complier for 2 Christmas bird counts, and a participant in 4 other Christmas bird counts. He's the organizer of the winter waterfowl count that encompasses the Middle Peninsula and the Northern Neck of Virginia, as well as 5 butterfly counts in Virginia. He's a volunteer preserve steward, leads hikes for the Nature Conservancy and preserves in Virginia. He's a believer in the importance of advocacy, protecting the natural world, and that the environment is part of the nation's national security dialogue and a priority global challenge. Jeff spent nearly 5 decades in government and industry applying or unapplying, as he said, tools and technologies for solving complex operational challenges. Jeff, I'm going to turn it over to you. I'll stop sharing so that you can start. We appreciate having you tonight.
Is my picture up, Trapper?
Jeff, you are looking good to go.
Okay. Well, thank you very much for the introduction. My mother and father would really be proud. They might not believe it all, but they would be proud. Going to talk about birds tonight, the Commonwealth of Virginia, and the wonders of citizen science as we get together as friends and have a lot of fun, but out contributing, finding birds, and trying to figure out the health of habitats and the health of particular species. So, what is a Christmas bird count? Well, it's really the oldest citizen science project in North America for sure. It uses volunteers almost exclusively who count birds on one day during a specific period in the middle of December to early January within a 15-mile science circle. And the data is really important for conservation because not only does it comment on the health and quantity of birds, but it also gives us some hint on habitats, water qualities, and a lot of other things that are going on in the nation and in the nation's natural world. So some constant factors every year in the Christmas bird counts. Like I mentioned, it's a 15-mile circle. It's a one-day event. They take place every year between the 14th of December and the 5th of January. And they're a lot of fun and they're great adventure, and they do make a difference in the data we have in the scientific world to track birds as a canary in a coal mine, an indicator of the health of our environment. There's a lot of Christmas bird counts throughout the United States. If you're interested in going to Alaska, you can find them, the Everglades, all around the nation, and I'll talk about that. But I know that I have some people come to me on Christmas bird counts that actually do different Christmas bird counts every year because they want to see different parts of the nation, and they're trying to build up experience of seeing certain species. So, Christmas bird counts have been going on for 125 years. This is the 126th year for the Christmas bird counts, but here's some constants. Badly dressed people having a great time in the field with no color coordinated clothing. That's why there's black and white photos. In the earlier years, the gentleman went out in coats and ties to do what we now do in jeans and t-shirts. But the big thing is camaraderie and results. And in a lot of these early pictures, you see the people never smiling, but the ones you see today, we're all smiling because we've probably figured out how to be warm after all these years. We also have a lot of decades of pointing and excitement. So if you can look at these earlier years, these four women and this one man here are truly dressed to the nines. They're going to a formal event, but they're out there counting birds. Three of them have binoculars, but today it's really a diverse activity in terms of where it occurs across the nation, who participates, different age groups, different skill groups all come together to produce a rather exciting Christmas bird count result. And it also has helped fight decades of cabin fever in the winter when people are afraid to go out in December because it's cold. And it's not that cold in Virginia. Yes, in Minnesota today, it's probably colder, but it's a great winter activity that brings together a lot of communities. And a lot of Christmas bird count circles are done based on a community basis where they will have a youth activity during part of the day as well as the overall count. A very interesting article in the New York Times a few years ago about the health benefits of being out in the field in the winter and Christmas bird counts stimulating both the body and the mind. So, what is a Christmas bird count circle? This is the one that I'm doing this Sunday in the Dragon Swamp, the swamp that encompasses four counties in the Middle Peninsula of Virginia, and is a rather fabulous place. But it's a 15-mile science circle, which is unique in the sense it doesn't touch any other circles. They're adjacent, but it gives a particular area where year after year you're going into that same area, generally on the same date from year to year, and collecting data that can be kept together as a data set and analyzed for changes in that data set over time. So there's a lot of circles right here in the one that says Jamaica. That's my Dragon Run one. But you can see as I look to the eastern shore along the bay and near me, there's a lot of Christmas bird counts spread out different days during that time. We try not to have too many on the same days. I try to run most of the ones I'm involved in on the weekdays. And then as you move toward Richmond and out toward Charlottesville, you'll see the trend continues. There's a lot of Christmas bird counts that take place. And here's all the Christmas bird counts in Virginia and in the District of Columbia. But you can see that thing I mentioned earlier. My God, if I was going to go to Cape May, New Jersey for a lark and a weekend, I might want to go to a bird count. Likewise, if I wanted to go to Cape Hatteras or Rocky Mount, North Carolina, or somewhere up in West Virginia, There's always good activities to meet other people with kindred spirits and have a good time outside. So there's kind of the mess of Christmas bird counts that really circles that cover just about all of North America, some into South America, some of the islands, generally islands tied to the United States, but the main two areas of Christmas bird counts are United States and Canada. So why were Christmas bird counts started? And this is a fabulous story. Prior to the 20th century, hunters and even entire families would go out right near Christmas and shoot everything and kill everything they could from the birding world, called a side hunt. And then they would bring back the piles of birds of all different species, and whoever had the most kills would win the prize on the side hunt for the day. So this was something that went on. I also tie it, but not a major cause, to the extinction of some species because in the earlier times, we had no statewide data on wildlife statistics, and people tended to just shoot things when they wanted to. So, in the case of the Christmas bird counts, we had the side hunts, and they were very fashionable and very much a function of society, both in rural areas and in some suburban areas. Here's a painting in the Library of Congress. But this is a town that will go unmentioned along the Atlantic coast down in the south, down near where you lived, Trapper. But this is what happened during a day in this small town with one family. They just went out and shot things. And the thing that catches my attention here, some of the things they shot in the 1800s to the 1900s are no longer with us. So all this contributed to extinction. And I mention the passenger pigeon because it's probably the world's greatest birding tragedy that we started out with a population of 5 billion, mostly in the United States, and wiped them out completely within 200 years. So by 1914, the last passenger pigeon, Martha, was killed. But even in 1878, there were still about 10 million left. But the side hunts and the Christmas bird counts were really not a major factor, but were one of the factors in the demise of some species. So, what took place with the side hunts and the disappearance of the passenger pigeon drove a lot of the early movement in the environment. Books by Rachel Carson, Roger Torrey Peterson, George Grinnell, and of course Aldo Leopold were very touched by what happened to the passenger pigeon. So their work started to build a momentum in the nation toward maybe we need to do something a little different. So actions were started to save birds just about the time the Christmas bird count starts. So this is some of the impetus behind the Lacey Act, the Migratory Treaty Act, the Endangered Species Act, which I must say is under major threat in the current administration, and the comment period back on it is due this month. So if you want to make a comment toward keeping the Endangered Species Act intact, you need to do it this month. So a lot of really good things came out of the badness of the side hunts and what was occurring with the disappearance of some species. The key impetus for the Christmas bird count was a gentleman by the name of Frank Chapman who proposed a new holiday tradition of counting birds rather than killing birds. And in the first time they got started, actually back in 1900 was the first year, 27 birders did 25 Christmas bird counts, and they identified 90 species. But this was the launch of a major movement that has continued up to this year and will continue on, this year being the 126th Christmas bird count. So Christmas bird counts were, arguably the largest birding event in the year in the world, but they're also the largest citizen science event, also in North America, certainly. And they had this unfortunate start as a result of somebody figuring out there's a better way to have fun during the Christmas holiday. Let's go out with everybody and count birds rather than go out with everybody and kill birds. And it's worked. So the results from the 2024 Christmas bird count, the last complete Christmas bird count, that little 15-mile circle that I run the count for, there's actually 2,693 circles like that that make up the Christmas bird count from those islands in the Pacific, Canada into South America. And we had over 72,000 people in the field, plus another 10,000 people that count from their home because they're doing things. In some cases, the person may have mobility issues and looks out the window and captures the birds that are at a feeder or in the yard and reports that into the system. So in total, it was 83,000 participants. As I said, a lot, almost 2,700 circles, but also 42 new circles. Within that, over here in the white area, these are the birds that were seen in the most circles, like in the European starling and invasive was in 2,284 circles. Another common bird, which is a great story, is the bald eagle. And I'm going to concentrate on the bald eagle a lot in this presentation. Almost 2,200 of the circles around the world had the bald eagle, and most of those were obviously in North America. And also 44 million birds counted. So this is a big data set that is produced by science during a short period, which is really helpful. Within that, 2,500 species. Within that, 40 new species and hybrids. A hybrid would be an example of a mallard and a black duck mating, creating a hybrid, but there are some hybrids in there. So in the United States, the biggest numbers were the red-winged blackbird, a bird that we have in Virginia, the snow goose, a bird that visits Virginia in rather limited numbers, and of course the European starling. And speaking of the snow goose, this is my favorite book of all time, and if you've never read it, it's a real heartthrob, and it's a novella that originally appeared in the Saturday Evening Post, but it's a terrific book about humanity. But we do get the snow goose to come to Virginia, and you usually find it, if you find it on the ground, mixed in with Canada geese sometimes. But where you really see it is along the bay and along the Atlantic flyways. You have this beautiful, very aerodynamic bird flying in the sky with the black wingtips, which is hard to miss. But sometimes at the Christmas bird count, we get unusual things in Virginia. So a couple of times we've had this Volkswagen side spies bird from the Midwest come in over the last 2 or 3 years called the white pelican, which is really something to see. And it showed up in the James, the York, the Rappahannock, and some of the other areas because storms tend to drive it to the east. So the number of circles since 1900 has continued to grow in Latin America and Canada, the United States, and it's really a significant number. Likewise, the number of circles have grown. The number of participants has grown, but the number of birds has precipitously declined. So we have more people in the field, in more circles, with better optics, better training, all kinds of apps on their phones that capture sound and everything else. And the data we're getting back is spectacular, but what it's showing is the loss of about 4 billion birds over the last 30 years. Huge numbers. Some cases, not numbers that can be reversed unless we take action. Numbers that are affected by climate, human activity, and a lot of other factors. And we'll talk about some of those. So here's a quote from Audubon, and I'll just pause and let everybody read it, but it's really the startling effect that since 2014, we've got some brilliant people in the field across North America, Pacific, South America, and we're really finding fewer species and also finding fewer numbers of certain species. So the benefits of Christmas bird count are many. Their population trends are picked up. The habitat health certainly shows, and Virginia has a lot of great, habitats. I applaud Wild Virginia for their work again water quality, fighting PFAS and other things. So these all contribute to that habitat health question. Is it driving some birds away? Climate change insights are amazing, and conservation actions based on some of the findings are very good. Getting people to stop using a certain fertilizer or not cut a field until after all the migratory birds have left. A lot of conservation actions are having a positive effect. So, birds, climate change, and citizen science are all very well connected, and the Christmas bird count plays into this. That we've lost really a quarter of our breeding birds. And one of the birds that nobody realizes is disappearing are blue jays, which is shocking to me when I first found out. And where these birds are really important, these birds disperse seeds. So when we lose birds that are dispersing seeds, we prevent sometimes plants and trees from being able to migrate. Now, that may sound counterintuitive, but plants also move, but somebody else helps move them. So the extent of forest and all these are affected. Additionally, animal dispersed plants cannot keep pace with climate change with the loss of all these birds. So there's a lot of factors going on in the background of all this data. So birds are shifting more in time and space as they adjust to global warming. Uh, they're making changes like they're moving away from heat, they're moving up in elevation in terrain, they're doing a lot of things in reaction to climate change and other conditions which are captured on the Christmas bird counts. A species that was counted in a certain place, it is northern range in 1900, may now have a northern range which is 100 miles further up toward the Arctic. So the benefits of the Christmas bird counts is people take really funny pictures of you with binoculars, but really you can learn a lot about birding and nature. You connect your activities with the natural world. It's a lot of community and history that you're going to. We visit a lot of great properties and things, but it's exercise and it's also an awful lot of fun. And Virginia is a key place in the world of birds. We're part of the Atlantic Flyway. We have this majesty of different terrains from the coastal plains to the valleys and ridges. This is a great place for birds and is kind of becoming the center of bird activity. This is an animation done by the Nature Conservancy where you see birds are kind of in the turquoise, mammals in the pinkish purple, and yellow being the amphibians. But if you look where Virginia is, a lot of the migration of these species has always been through Virginia, and it's concentrating more as more things are moving away from heat toward higher elevations. So let's talk about how many species of birds there are in Virginia. Working from the top down, there's estimated to be between 11,500 and 13,000 birds in the world because every year when they go into some island in the South Pacific or something, they find something else. We have over 2,000 in North America, over 1,100 in the United States, and we're really wonderful that we have 490 birds in Virginia, and that's quite a few. So, how many birds did we find on the Christmas bird count last year in Virginia? We have 54 circles, but a very, very respectable, almost a million birds, 900,000 and 212 species. Now I have to pause for a question. Does Virginia have any endemic birds? This is a bird that is only found in the world in one place, and that would be Virginia. Does anyone know? Well, it's the Hokie. So, birds of Virginia, changes are coming our way, and they're not all good. And a lot of them are caused by bad things happening, particularly in climate change and in sea level rise in the Bay Areas. This is an example of one bird that is really suffering a lot is the magnificent black skimmer, which nests on the beach and lives on the beach. Well, it's losing a lot of the beach where it are going underwater. So this is a bird in Virginia in precipitous decline and one that we look for in activities. And if you're ever down on the Atlantic side, this is one to see. So 2024 was the warmest year in history. We've already passed the 1.5 centigrade threshold. And we just want to make sure we can slow this down if we can. So if you look at Virginia's average temperature, and this chart was created by NOAA in 2024, you can clearly see the trend that it's getting warmer and warmer in Virginia as we go from 1896 up to 2024. Yes, there's been some periods where it dropped, but the trend line, if I were to put it in there, shows Virginia's getting warmer. The observed and projected temperatures based on emissions of carbon and everything else really also shows us that the temperature change will rise significantly by 2100 in Virginia. Rainfall will increase in Virginia, but the period between rain will increase. So we're going to have more droughts, more big rains, and all these have a negative effect upon the food chain and other things that birds need. So when we're out there in the Christmas bird counts, some of those population changes are driven by changes in moisture, changes in food that they need, which are moisture driven on the health of different habitats. So this is what NOAA said about Virginia, and I'll let everybody read this back in 2022. Temperatures rising, droughts are increasing, intensity of heat and extreme precipitation are projected to increase. Not the best combination for the natural world, but a combination that we're learning how to exist with and counter in some small ways. I love this picture. I don't know where I got it, but this kind of tells a lot of story. We got to stop what's what's happening to our environment and how it impacts the bird world. So some of the Christmas bird counts I participated in, one 2 years ago was very interesting, where we found the carcasses of almost 100 dead brown pelicans on both sides of the Chesapeake Bay. There'd been a cold snap, but it's one of those ones where the Christmas bird count is not only counting what we see living and flying, but sometimes we're also identifying things that we find are deceased. And this was a real alert to the scientific community searching up and down the coast to see if there was something else going on beyond the cold snap, and there wasn't. Another surprise bird that drops into Virginia every year when Harry Potter books are being read, oh, I didn't say that, is the snow goose, but I mean the snowy owl. An amazing bird, but on some Decembers during the Christmas bird count season, it shows up on Chincoteague, Accomack County in Virginia and really causes a stir because every birder in North America who's never seen one wants to see them because they're truly a remarkable bird. I had the great pleasure in 2023 and 24 being the one of the shepherds for a surprise arrival in Virginia of a bird that had no way should it have ever been here. Was a calliope hummingbird showed up in a woman's garden in December, and she had the wherewithal to look online and look up hummingbirds, called a hummingbird expert in Tennessee who called the hummingbird manager for the science on the East Coast, who got a hold of me because this was in my Christmas bird count circle where the woman's yard was. The calliope hummingbird used to be a bird that I had in my yard when I lived in Arizona. So over here on the map on the left side of my screen where you see kind of the coloration there, that's the normal range of that bird. So this little bird that weighs 3.6 ounces was 2,000 miles out of its range, and that's the third occurrence of this bird over time in Virginia. So the birding community and this wonderful family went to work, heated feeders with backup generators, 3 parts water to 1 part sugar, and this little guy we called Cal stayed there in Virginia along the bay until June, when in June this wonderful part of its throat gets a crimson color. And at that point, it was breeding ready and it took off, never to be seen again. But a real treat for the birding community. So steps to participate in a Christmas bird count are quite easy. You can look online at Audubon. They'll show you all the circles around the world. You can pick one. You tap the circle, and it will give you the name of the compiler for that circle. So you'll get the email address from myself and any of my colleagues. And just about every bird count on the Christmas bird count, every circle is open to outsiders to come on in and join because that's part of the collegial and community spirit of these events. So let's talk about the impact on species of one that I'm particularly interested in, eagles, and the effect of climate change and why it's so important that we count birds. Eagles is a bird. This is our first bird in Virginia that goes to nest. So in January, it's on the nest, paired with its mate. Eggs are laid, juveniles are starting to hatch in the early part of the new year because this bird can only raise its young in very, very cool temperatures. Because by the end of the time when the baby flies off, the baby actually weighs more than either of the parents. So the parents put a lot of energy into raising these baby eagles. So if you hearken back to Silent Spring and Rachel Carson, DDT had a major effect on states like Virginia that eagles and ospreys and other birds that in eating things within the food chain were getting poisoned by DDT. Since then, the eagles have come back magnificently in North America and certainly in Virginia. But I want to caution you, it's not really a great story in every way, account of climate change. I'll cover that next. So, great picture. Whoever, can get that close to an eagle with their with their iPhone. No, I'm only kidding. So let's look at what happens in our scenarios where we've changed temperature by 1.5 degrees Celsius, 2 degrees Celsius, or 3 degrees Celsius over time. So you're looking at a map which is basically everywhere that's colored in there is where the birds currently breed based on before we got to 1.5. Now, if I got to 1.5, what the birds are doing, they're starting to migrate north. So more of the area in red there, they're no longer breeding. So they've lost range. So they're moving further north, following climate, following food stocks, and other things. If I change this to a 2 degree centigrade change, you'll see that there's an impact in coastal Virginia. These are based on Audubon projections, and the next set of projections I think is coming up in the next couple of years. So what that would mean if it got to 2% centigrade is we would have reduced breeding in coastal Virginia of this magnificent bird because they're going to move to cooler places, and the cooler places tend to be north or tend to be at higher elevations. So this is significant. So our counts at the Christmas bird count of both golden eagles in Virginia and bald eagles help give us an idea of the stability of that population because we're counting not only mature birds, those that have the white head and the white tail area, but the juveniles we see. And in some years, it's kind of remarkable. We don't see the number of juveniles that we suspect, or we see way, way more juveniles. So I think the data, always averages out, but we get a lot of good data on eagles from the Christmas bird count. So if it goes up, to 3 degrees, man, most of the eagle breeding will be north of the Mason-Dixon line. We also have the problem with eagles are very susceptible to lead poisoning, and lead ammunition is still used pretty universally in North America for hunting game. It's not used for hunting waterfowl, but it is for hunting game. And at the same time, eagles being at top of the food chain, we're having trouble over the last 4 or 5 years in the deep south with avian flu. They would, be eating a carcass that had avian flu and it would affect them. So a lot of studies going on eagle populations, but the Christmas bird count definitely does it. This is a shot in the Dragon Run of a dead eagle. Whenever we find one, we report them upline into the scientific community so they can figure out if something's going on. Kind of sad, not the picture of joy and fun we talk about in Christmas bird counts, but it's really important from the scientific community that we really record what we see. Okay, birds are in serious decline in North America. There's no question about it. I mentioned probably the loss of 4 billion birds, but there's a lot of specific species that are at risk. And organizations such as Wild Virginia, organizations such as Audubon, Nature Conservancy, universities, and a lot of people working on different aspects to save particular species. I want to shout out to Old Dominion University and Virginia Commonwealth University and others that have specific bird studies that have been very positive on saving birds in decline. So the major habitats for birds in North America, and this is independent of where man was, you see a lot of the temperate forests, which are pretty well seriously cut back, and a lot of other things have changed. So as a result, these are the bird areas that are of the greatest concern, and we don't do much counting over the oceans during the Christmas bird counts, but we do a lot along the coast. So the people that do the Cape Charles count and some of the counts at Norfolk and others do go out in boats along the coast and try to get as much data from the waters as well as the land. But grasslands are Virginia, temperate forests are Virginia, wetlands are Virginia, and generalist species are doing well. It's the specific species that are having problems, and the data from the Christmas bird counts really helps shed light on where this is most serious. So with that, I'd like to end and take questions, but once again, one of the trail cameras at the Dragon Run always amazes me. This bald eagle is out there in the morning taking a bath on top of a beaver dam, waiting for dead fish to float down toward it. And if you've never seen an eagle take a bath, here it is. Magnificent bird, and we find them there a lot doing this year round, and then they'll fly off, but incredible birds to see. So, Trapper and Kyle and Lauren, that completes my presentation. I'll take my slides down. I would be very glad to take any questions.
Yeah, currently we have no open questions, so if anybody has any, feel free to put them in the Q&A.
Q&A box. Jeff, we greatly appreciate it. What an awesome presentation. And I'll just say I'm not a professional birder myself, but got mixed in with creating a Christmas bird count circle in South Carolina, originating a new circle that is. And it was amazing and hanging out with folks that are really, really good at this. You pick up a lot, and if you go every year, you just build on that knowledge base. So I would um, urge folks to get out there and get involved. This is a great learning opportunity, and it's really fun too. Looks like you got a few questions now, Lauren.
Yeah, first question is how do circles get added to the Christmas bird count?
Good, very good question. They have a process where you apply to Audubon, and they in a sense examine your application where the circle is. They do not allow circles to cross, so you have to put your circle where there's not a circle. And they try to also identify your interest in your community in doing this. So sometimes they recommend you do a trial run in that area first, and then they'll approve it. But it's a very straightforward process with the National Audubon Society to approve it. And there's a lot of areas in Virginia, I think you saw on the map, where there's not counts, and quite a few counties in Virginia do not have any counts within their borders. So an area where it'd be great if someone would take some of those on and create circles.
Okay, great. And then the next question was, what do you think about the plan to kill the barred owls?
The barred owl is such a favorite of mine. We see them all a lot in the Dragon watershed, and I know there's a supposed problem in the West, but I'm not for it at this time. We had the problem a few years ago where the federal government wanted to kill a lot of cormorants also on the Pacific Northwest. And I think that we need to really examine if that's a good solution for nature, which I don't think it is.
Great. And then the next question I is, do we have a petition from Mark? Um, I'm not sure what they mean by that, but
No, it may harken back to the question on the Endangered Species Act, where there is petition circulating within a lot of the environmental groups asking people to sign on. At the same time, the government is impacting the changing the Clean Water Act. Comments on the Clean Water Act are due this month also, and one to open up logging again, logging roads in some of the national forests. All three of these, I urge people to comment on and hopefully comment against what is being proposed.
great. And then the last question I believe is in res related to the first question. It says, sounds like the Audubon Society is the next step.
Yes, Audubon is the approver. The entire Christmas bird count is organized by the National Audubon Society, and they approve the circles. Most of the circles are not connected to Audubon chapters in any ways, but the entire overall count, all the data collection, support, publicity, and everything else. And Audubon does an excellent job with different tools for participants and things to help organize, account, and everything else. So it is Audubon is the place to go. They have a good website which tells you how to start a Christmas bird count.
Great. I think that was all the questions. Oh, one more. Um, what are your thoughts about managing house sparrows overtaking and killing our native bird clutches, such as our eastern bluebird?
I used to have that problem and used a trapping and exclusion device, but house sparrows are a problem in some cases with some of our native nesting birds, and protecting the native birds is a priority.
Okay, great. That's all the questions I see so far.
All right. Well, thank you, Lauren. And certainly thank you, Mr. Jeff. We appreciate learning from you. And you may just hear from some folks to want to join you out in the field.
Yeah, and if anybody has any additional questions, get them to Trapper, and I will get you answers.
All right.
And come out on
Well,
the
we
Christmas bird count.
absolutely, absolutely. It's a great way to start the new year too. So please continue to learn about the Christmas bird count. I did put a link in the chat that Jeff referenced earlier. You can see all the circles in Virginia, and if you just click on one of those circles, it'll tell you who the complier is, who the leader is for that circle, and give you their email address, and you can make contact. Thank you so much for joining us tonight. Again, please be on the lookout for a follow-up email we'll be sending out with a link to the recording and some additional information about Christmas bird counts. So we thank everybody for their time and hope everyone has a good remainder of your evening. Holly, Lauren, Jeff, anything to add?
I think I'm set. Thank you very much. It was a real honor to present to this group.
Yeah, I
Thank
was
you,
just gonna add,
sir.
there's
Everyone,
a lot of thank yous in the chat and a lot of people saying it was an excellent presentation. So I thought so too.
absolutely.
Good night.
Have a good night, everyone. Thank you.